Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
And Rob, we have got somebody on the telephonic device. I'm bringing up the sound in the background.
Yeah, we have indeed. A classic friend of the show and one of the Coodabeen champions, the Oracle of Barnheads, Ian Cover. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Rob, and hello to your offsider there. I'd like to use his name today because I'm very unhappy with his musical selection to open the program.
It was absolute shocker, wasn't it?
Oh, so good to see. Good to see. I thought, oh, well, obviously the Two Blokes Chatting are off for another week and they're still spinning in some alternative music.
Well, I had a look at the birthday. As you know, we do the birthday artist, and the following people were having a birthday. Faye Dunaway, Warren Mitchell, Graham Marsh, Richard Bryars, Frank Costigan, and Mark Anthony. Now, none of those were renowned for their great songs, so we had Dave Grohl to choose from.
Yeah, and he's not renowned for a great song either. So, unfortunately, you know what, but at the same time, I wasn't that... it was educational because I've read lots and heard lots over the years of people going on about this song called Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana.
Yes.
And I had no idea what it sounded like. And when I heard it, I thought, how was that ever a hit?
I think I may have made a similar comment afterwards. I think I apologised to the audience and said, please don't think this is what we're doing this year.
Yeah, the apology's been accepted, Neil, so that's okay.
Thank you very much.
There, Cove, we should let the...
Hang on. First of all, I want to start the new year with an apology for my failure to respond to your last program of 2022 when you'd kindly invited me to come on. And look, if I offended you in any way by not appearing, I regret that. I can't bring myself to say the sorry word.
And you should be apologising to our listeners, not for the lack of appearance so much as the fact that for 20 minutes we had to fill in.
I'm sure you were able to cover that with playing a whole side of Nirvana.
Which is why we got 3 weeks suspension.
Oh, dear me.
Dear. Anyway, lovely to be with you. Can you hear noise in the background?
We can. It's festive.
Yeah, this is what Two Blokes Chatting is all about. It's the way, what is it, the way Geelong wakes up or something?
It's how Geelong spends Saturday morning, but good work for picking up on it.
And it's good that people in Geelong get a chance, and of course on the World Wide Web, to not only hear what's happening in Geelong via your studio, but by this, live crosses to things that are happening in the region. So I'm speaking to you at the minute from the Cottage by the Sea annual fair at Queenscliff.
Am I right in saying they had an annual fair this time last year?
No, they didn't.
Oh,
the year before.
I used that joke and it blew up on me, didn't it?
It was off for a couple of years because of COVID, so it's back on today, and lots of locals and holiday makers down here availing themselves of the fruit and veggie stall. And there's all sorts of things and plants and all this. And can I tell you, I'm here with a few friends. We've formed a little club to support Cottage by the Sea, and it's called the Rippers Club, mainly because it looks out over the Rip, and we're a bunch of rippers. and
I'm glad it doesn't look over the swing.
So we've got a little stall here to sort of promote our activities. And do you know what we've got? You can't be more traditional Australian fete than what we're doing here.
Oh, and I miss a traditional Australian fete. They were fantastic in the old days. And
because
it would be a second-hand bookshop then.
No, come on.
Not a sausage sizzle.
No,
because that's been hijacked.
Sheaf tossing. Lucky dip.
Lucky dip. You're getting warm now. You're getting very close.
Oh, okay.
Lucky Star. Oh no, he sings, doesn't he?
No. It involves numbers.
A spinning wheel.
Thank you.
The spinning wheel.
And it's been loaned to us by the footy club, And it's brand new. We've spun it for the first time today.
Hey, Cove, before we get a little more flippant, let's just stop for a minute. You are a patron of Cottage by the Sea and the amazing work they do. Marvellous work, and you've been a great supporter of them for a long time. So let's get a bit serious about the good stuff they do.
Well, it's been going for more than 100 years, actually, and in all that time has never had any federal, state or local government funding. So it's been run for more than 100 years on fundraising, donations, support from charitable trusts and funds and that, and lots of volunteers. And what it does do is provide camps, like say for a week, kids come and they call it a camp, but they stay at the cottage, and it's to help underprivileged, disadvantaged and vulnerable children, and they get identified by various agencies, like through primary schools, a lot of them, primary school kids, and they come down here for a week, and they get to do things like swim in the ocean, go fishing, get involved in creative activities around the cottage, and it truly changes lives. And we've run a few little events here where we've had alumni, people are now young adults that came here when they were primary age children, and they get up and they say, if I hadn't have come here, I may not have been even speaking to you today. It changed my life.
How far and wide does the alumni group spread? Are they all over Victoria, all over Australia? What's the catchment?
Certainly Victoria. Yeah, Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing some stuff a bit further afield these days in conjunction with the Catherine Freeman Foundation, because Kathy was patron for 10 years here, and so through that association it led to a linkage with her foundation that does things with kids, obviously, in the Northern Territory, and that's so there's some things where they sort of work together and take kids back, between the two, which is great as well. And of course, Kathy was followed as patron by Frank Costa, and Frank, of course, it was a fantastic, as you know, he was patron of 29 organisations at one time, Frank.
But what did he do in his spare time?
Yeah, and then he backed off a bit and went back to 19. So, and Rebecca Madden is now the patron. So there's a lot of great people involved, and it's just, look, I'll tell you, one of the people that we have had, she's coming down actually next Saturday to a little function we got, a girl named Morgan Mitchell. Now, do you know Morgan, Rob?
No, but I'm thinking I should.
Yeah, she represented Australia at the Tokyo Olympics in the 800 metres. She's also been like Australian 400 metre champion.
Yes.
Yep,
Yep.
And she came here when she was about 8, and said if she hadn't come here, she wouldn't have ended up representing Australia at the Olympics.
That's a good story.
It is. There's a lot of those stories, I can tell you that. So, no, it's a great thing to help young kids and give them an opportunity. Look, like a lot of those kids that come from, inner suburban Melbourne or western suburbs of Melbourne or in country Victoria, believe it or not, they've never seen the ocean.
Yeah.
And so they go down to the beach to have a swim, and some of them just stand in the water, just staring at it because they've never seen it.
I've seen that firsthand, Cove. We did a thing with the bank with some kids in a school in Alice Springs with Lawn, the Lawn College, and they did a swap over, and to see these young Indigenous kids come down here and see the ocean for the first time, it was just mind-boggling to see the expression and the experience of them. It was incredible. Yeah.
We actually, as part of our Rippers Club, we have a pin-up boy who was a young Sudanese boy from suburban Melbourne, and he just stood in the water and splashed for about half an hour. They couldn't get him out the water because he, never seen it. I suppose he'd seen water come out of a tap. Didn't realise it was in an ocean.
Yeah, Rob does that when he gets in the bath.
Yeah.
Robin has to go and drag him out because he's not seen one of those for a long time.
Like that.
Well, I tell you what, if we're allowed to, and have to check with the management, we'll make commitment on air this time next year, because I'm assuming if it's an annual fair, there'll be another one this time next year.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can't get the 2BC down there, and we might have a chat, do the chatting from the Cottage by the Sea and do an outside broadcast.
That'd be great. That'd be really terrific.
And we'd even let you come along and be on the microphone.
Yeah, well, I walked in today, and there was you'd know Andrew Augustine.
Yep.
Who,
Yes.
Used to and his wife Jade, who was at the race club.
Yes.
They're doing some assisting cottage these days with a bit of PR and marketing. I walked in and Andrew was on the mic, roaming Andrew around the gardens. And before I could say hello to my colleagues from the Rippers, he just come and said, "And Ian Cove is here. Can you tell us what this is all about? What are you doing today?"
Now, I might be about to reveal, because you don't report anymore, you reveal things now.
Yeah.
I might reveal a secret about Andrew, and that is, have you ever seen him and Apco Joe in the same place at the same time?
Now, that is a very good question, Neil. But it's akin to saying to people, Humphrey B. Bear is not real.
Yeah. No, because what I was going to reveal was he and Apco Joe have had a fight some time ago, and they refused to be in the room at the same time.
To be right.
I wasn't doing anything untoward.
Okay. Next you'll be telling us that Aussie Ostriches wasn't real.
It's funny how we don't see much of him anymore now that poor old Ernie's no longer with us.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, he must be grieving a lot, poor old Aussie.
Something it for the kiddies.
Yeah. And for the same purpose, have you ever seen Rob Cameron and Prince Harry in the same place at the same time?
Stop it now. You're just being really silly.
Okay.
Cove, I want to tap into something that you're very good at. You Coodabeens have become the place to go for what is right and proper in Australian sport, traditions and time-honoured, that sort of thing.
Yep.
I've been betwixt and between of late, and it's getting to the stage where I need to question myself. Is it right for me to barrack for Australia and hope that a certain player doesn't score runs, or that when Nick Kyrgios is playing, I don't want him to win? Is that un-Australian?
Well, for a start, I thought you were talking about the Australian cricket team, not the tennis.
Well, I just swapped over because it's that thing where your Australian heritage is sort of challenged a bit by the people that are representing it. Is it wrong to feel that way?
Well, some people would argue that it is. But I think most would say it's completely understandable, Rob.
Oh, I'm getting a bit frustrated. Certainly the tennis one I'm almost done with. But this year more than ever in the cricket, there's been some activity that's made me think, geez, I should be barracking for the other team, I think.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. It's well, I think it's un-Australian to use the tag un-Australian.
I noticed the Sam Kekovich mob have got onto it. It was quite coincidental because I've been challenging myself for some time, and I've seen the new Lamb ad now, and they've gone right on that.
Yeah, that's very good. Anyway, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, all right. We might just leave it at there.
The other thing is, you know, here's another thing that's interesting too about the way sport has gone. We don't have any people burst on the scene anymore, do we?
No, not really.
Oh, I reckon there's a young fella who's just been handed the number 8 jumper in a northern state for a football club up there who is going to burst onto the scene.
Is he? So you're going to give us his name and do it now?
Well, there might just be a situation where for the first time in the history of my knowledge, I'm a bit rusty, Ian, you can tell, is that it could be that we have a player winning a medal in one of those Derby Q Clash pineapple grapple things that bears the name of his father.
Well, you are typical of people in the media who go building these kids up, you know, just before they've even had a kick or hit a ball. You know, let them burst on the scene. You know?
I think that's a really, really unfair thing to say, to call us in the media. There are people in the media who would be grossly offended by that.
Yeah, I think you're quite right, Cove. The work of the media and talent scouts and gossip mongers, if you like, no one gets a chance to hide these days. Expectation has been thrust upon these young athletes.
I think it wasn't much more exciting when you turned the TV on to watch the first test between Australia and England in 1974, and a bloke called Jeff Thompson, who you'd never seen, suddenly came on and he burst on the scene, didn't he? It was so exciting.
Yeah, he did. He did actually. I did see him bowl live in his first test at the G. It was a year before. or a couple of years before, against Pakistan, and they belted him all over the place. He was quick, but all over the shop, and there were some very good players that dealt with him. I think he got none for 100, or I might have got one for 100, but when he came back... Ooh.
It was a bit like Warney too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The same thing, got belted the first time, came back. I remember actually, I was doing athletics at Landy Field in Geelong, and I think Australia batted on the Friday in Brisbane, and might have made 300 or something, and then they were out early on the second day, and I was running at Landy Field in the afternoon. I went up, my father was on the screen and said, "Oh, gee, you ought to see this Thompson fellow." He said, not only is he quick, but he's got this weird action. It was so exciting. Anyway.
Yes, I think Dennis Amos would have also liked to have seen Jeff Thompson. The other guy who's also coincidentally was called Thompson, who also had a really weird bowling action, a chap called Alan Thompson.
Yeah.
He used to play for Victoria. Froggy.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Was talking about him last week at Geelong with Jeff Tamblin. Cove came down to watch a bit of cricket at the Cattery, and he was remembering coming down to Geelong many years ago with a young Froggy Thompson to do a clinic or something. That would have been back in the late 60s, probably, before Froggy arrived on the scene. But, geez, for someone who had such a horrible-looking bowling action, he was a particularly productive performer.
He was indeed. I think, was he among the youngest to get to 100 Test wickets? Did he get 100 or not? Am I thinking of someone else?
Not sure about that, but
no, I don't know that he
wouldn't
got
you be
100.
pleased if you'd
Google
been if you were a local coach in Geelong and you're saying, "Oh, look, we've got a couple of Victorian cricketers coming down here. Bowlers, we've got a bloke called Alan Thompson. He bowls for Australia." You wouldn't be very pleased you were the coach, would you? Trying to get your kids, you've been trying to get the kids to bowl properly, and then there comes bloke with the wrong foot and all sorts of stuff going on. The windmill, I think they used to call him, didn't they?
He kept landing it in the right spot, though. He was a very, very good performer. And, of course, a high-quality VFL umpire in his day.
It was. And I reckon in his time he was the best bouncer of the football. He could bounce it straight up, Froggy. He was very good at it. He'd be first picked now for that. But sadly, Froggy passed away late last year.
Yeah. Yes, he did, unfortunately.
Yeah. Actually, your story when you said that, he's bringing Alan Thompson down, what are you going to say? People said, "Oh, who's he? Never heard of him." Because I had a similar experience back in 1992, 30 years ago now. A fella from Suburban Cricket Club, eastern suburbs of Melbourne, got me to come along to MC. He said he booked me in for during the cricket season. He booked me in. He said next February, we're having this night, February, And I was doing a bit of work for Cricket Victoria, and he said, "Oh, do you think you can get one of the Victorian players?" So I had a fairly good rapport with Merv Hughes at the time. So I said to Merv, "Can you do it?" "No, he's too busy doing something." So I asked Dean Jones, next port of call, No, Dino couldn't do it. And someone at Cricket Victoria said, "Oh, what about Shane Warne?" And I said, "No, yeah." So I rang the bloke up and said, "I got Shane Warne for you." The bloke goes, "Oh, yeah, sure you can't get Dino." and so Boxing Day 1992, of course, Warney spins Australia to victory, taking 7 for 52 in the second innings against West Indies. The bloke's on the phone to me the next day. "Is Warney still right for February?"
I just looked up Froggy. I think you might have been right. First class.
Correct.
Yeah, I reckon you'll find that he was very productive in that area. Only took the 12 Test wickets in the 4 Tests that he played. Yep. But 180 first-class wickets for Victoria, and most of them pretty quick.
Now, Rob, if any listeners were starting to scream at their radios because I'd said Test matches, look, I regret I said Test cricket. I was acting on information I believed true at the time.
Very good work.
To the best of my knowledge.
To the best of my knowledge, and I sincerely regret any offence I may have caused.
There is an episode of the Olympics written by the late John Clark and friend of the program, friend of all of us, Ross Stevenson. And there's an episode where John Clark, Brian Dorr and Gina Riley are going through a Royal Commission, and they've been told to rotate through 3 answers. I don't remember being there, not to my knowledge, and I don't recall. It's good to see that 22 years later we've got politicians using exactly the same tactic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That stuff that was written back then is so scarily accurate. When you're looking at it, you're laughing. You're not quite sure whether you're laughing because it's funny or because it's sad. But oh God, they were very clever, those people.
Now, while you're interviewing me, can I interview you just quickly, Rob, and say I had intended to get down to Geelong last Saturday afternoon, so again, I regret I was unable to do so. I can't recall why, but
I wasn't there.
Good win by Geelong in the finish.
Oh, it was really good. As you know, they'd been teetering a little. This year it reminds me a little of the 2006 football season for the Geelong Football Club, where there was a high expectation after a couple of good years and they had a very bad lull. But in games like that, you require the experience. And Dom McGlinchey last weekend was absolutely outstanding with both bat and ball. Not dragged his team over the line, but provided the inspiration for the rest of them to lift. And you could see the whole team lift, and hopefully it'll give them a bit of an impetus to carry on.
Of course, you can provide that leadership when you bowl 11 overs. What happened there?
The old My Cricket system fell to pieces before our very eyes last Saturday afternoon. I thought they had a chance to fix it, but still the next day the errors were everywhere. Got very messy for a while. No one knew what the score was.
But did he bowl 11 overs?
No, he didn't. Young Josh Garner bowled 5 and he was only credited with 4. So, yeah, he bowled the last over from that end, and they just presumed it was still McGlinchey or something. I don't know what had gone on.
Because when I saw it had 11 overs and they've hung on, I thought, oh, they'll be firing in the process.
Particularly if Joel Garner's come on and bowled the last over, is that what you said?
He's very good.
Ian, we've come to the end of the time that we've got allocated, and sadly we've got another guest coming up, so we probably should let you go back and do what you are being not paid to do, and that is entertain and do things on a spinning wheel at the Cottage by the Sea. And
spin the wheel, exactly right. It was funny, we got a couple of kids out in the crowd to spin the wheel the first time, give us a hand, and they spun the wheel and managed to land on the ticket being held by one of the kids' mother.